Hey guys, it's Chris from In the Rough Crystals, and I am doing your crystal conscious reading for the collective for November 2017. So, happy birthday to all the Scorpios that are out there, including myself. My birthday's November 4th, so really excited about that. So, um, we had quite an interesting month. If you read or viewed last month's um, crystal conscious reading, I think one of the major themes that we've seen is, like, how I kept saying, like, that there's a lot of different events and things happening, and that the month of October we're going to see a lot of events occur on the world platform where they're creating a lot of, like, distractions, and we've seen that happen, like, massively in October. So just a lot of shifts that are happening um, on a planetary level. And we went through the 1010 portal. We had the 1111 portal coming up. um, and I think the energies that we had last month are really good because, we had, like, the energy of amethyst come up, I think, in the second week of October, which really was to help people to really start transmuting, like, their addictions, like, whether you have a drinking problem or whether it's codependency or, eliminating fear. Like, amethyst is really good in its essence to work with, to really transmute that energy and take it and to change it into something else. And I think the big thing about that is, as we went through this month, we really got to see how those energies translated. And I know for me personally, because I work through these energies too, working with the energy or the essence of amethyst really brought up a lot of fears for me that I had to face, a lot of codependency issues, and I was able to start looking at patterns um, that I needed to be able to see and be able to view so that I can transmute that. And we're doing this, transmutation where we're just changing this energy. We're feeling it, we're experiencing it, and and then we're letting it go. We're letting it go, and we're taking the energy that we're releasing from us, that density, and we're changing it into something else. And then, as you saw, like, that very next week, the energy that came in was pyrite. Pyrite's this very solar plexus energy, strong will, manifestation. um, I like the energy of pyrite because I feel like it's kind of like, when you light the charcoal for your, like, incense burner starts to spark. Like, that's how I feel like you start to, you start to light up. I feel like it's a cultivation of your life force. So, I can understand, with the shifts that are happening, that are occurring in people, um, that this would be a month, especially with the veils being so thin, and us intuitively having contact to our ancestors or guides, working with us to help usher us through these changes and help usher us through these portals. Keeping the masses and keeping people in this kind of just sleeping mindset, by distraction and by all these different things, is to pull people away from putting focus and putting emphasis on what's coming up from that for them, and being able to really work on the things that they need to, because we're always being triggered, and we have to look at, like, when we're being triggered, because we're all triggered by something. When we're triggered, we have to look at not what is going on the outside, or the person or the thing or the event that's being created. We have to look at what is it in terms of what we feel inside, internally, that is making us feel that way, because it's really not about the external event, it's the internal event. um, so I think it's also good that, even with a lot of the distraction events that are happening, it's like, for me, I'm aware of them. Like, I don't watch, like, all, like, news, and, like, I really don't even watch TV or anything like that. But I can feel into, like, the energy, and you know there's so many people that, you know, are spreading their fear-based agendas, and I just, when I hear things that are going on, I take it because it comes across, you know, my energy field. It comes in front of my experience of things, and then I have to take it and look at it and say, okay, like, you know, if this is triggering me, like, what is it, what quality, what experience, you know, feeling based experience is it really highlighting inside of myself that I need to confront, and that I need to heal, and I need to transmute. um, and I think, you know, what's really been coming up even more is that it's very important that, like, as we're doing this healing work, and we're now in Scorpio season, so you have the sign of death, you know, rebirth, transformation, like dealing with unconscious stuff. We have an opportunity to really deal with some um, deep seated stuff, like things that we may have repressed or suppressed. Um, that are going to start to surface. So we're going to continue to get triggered, but it's an opportunity for us to, you know, get rid of all the density, get rid of all of the baggage that we've been holding on to, and really allow ourselves to level up. I think the 1111 portal is going to be really, really beautiful. And it's just like, I feel like, you know, I keep seeing like you're taking off a jacket, and then you confront something else, and you take off another jacket, and it's like, as long as you're continuing to do the best that you can to press forward and work through that, it's just like, I think it's going to be a very amazing energy going through this 1111 portal. Is a gateway. And, you know, I think we need to keep our mindsets positive, and we need to focus on, like, what it is that we do want to bring into our lives, and what we do want to create. um, if you look at what's going on, you know, externally, like in your life, and you know, it's in disarray, or it's chaotic, or, you know, whatever it is that you have going on, you know, I would challenge you to not say, oh, well, the world did this, or this person did this. I challenge you to take a step back and really assess how you feel. Not about the person, but what is this situation, what is this experience teaching me about my feelings? Because once you can get to the source of why you feel the way that you feel, like within yourself, then you understand, like, how the external event got created, because you're creating it, that self, your, you know, self, by the energy that's in you. So you create the external event, so it triggers you, so you can look back at you, and you can release, and you can transmute this energy, and then change it into something else, and use it for something that's more constructive and positive. And if you're doing, you know, really doing this clearing work, you have a well, you have a store of energy that's been transmuted, that can be used for something else that's creative and productive. So, you know, I think, you know, as we're approaching the 1111 portal, that's something to really start thinking about, getting yourself in a, you know, a positive mindset, focusing on abundance, you know, focusing on what you want to create. You know, if your experience in life has been tumultuous or challenging, or, you know, whatever you've been through, you have an opportunity and a chance all the time to write a new story. You know what I mean? Like, you are the co-creator in your life. You're in the driver's seat. So, you know, this is a prime opportunity to figure out what's going on inside of you. What drives you? What drives you? And you're only going to understand what drives you if you start to understand yourself, your emotions, and your own energy. So we're going to get into the crystal conscious reading, and I'm still, this month, I'm going to do it 1 week at a time. So we're just doing 4 cards, and just going week by week and seeing what comes up. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle this deck here. And we are cultivating a safe and protected space at this time, only calling in benevolence and positive energies, guides, assistance that's in our highest and best good, not only just for our personal self and spiritual growth, but the ascension and spiritual growth for the entire planet at this time. And we're going to pull cards up for, got week 1 here. doors we have to open here in November. Just looking at what's coming up. We had an extra card come out. So these are both going to be for week 4, and it like literally jumped over my lap. So bear with me. I'm going to grab this card. So week 1 we have sulfur that has come up. Sulfur is very it's very detoxifying to our cells, to our energetic field, to our chakras. So I mean, it's very fitting because we're still going through this this kind of purging, this purification energy, this releasing of all the densities. So sulfur's coming in and it's like burning these things away. So I'm feeling like a burning, like I'm seeing like flames. So I feel like there's going to be heavy transmutation energies. Like what I'm feeling is that, you know, in October things were kind of coming up, and now it's like I think a lot of us are coming into a space of awareness of like what we need to do, and how we need to work within these energies. So now it's time to really start churning and breaking this stuff down. It's like I'm feeling like when a star goes like supernova, you know, that's like kind of what I'm feeling. But it's like what it's doing is it's kind of illuminating our path. Like once we move through that energy, then it's like it's like the light at the end of the tunnel, where it's just like that, aha, this is what all this was for. This is what the purpose was, so I can move up to this next level and this next stage, like in my growth. And it's like when we release all of the things that we've been holding on to, like our fears, you know, relationships that we, you know, needed to let go of and we needed to cut cords, you know, just anything that was no longer serving us. Like, and we've all experienced that to some, you know, degree. When we let go of that, we start feeling better about ourselves. Like people notice the change in our mood, we're happier, like our skin might look better, like we start to take better care of ourselves. It's like our aura, or the energy around us changes. And that's how I feel about sulfur. It's like its energy is preparing us to you know, really step into the next level of ourself. What's coming through is, you know, it's releasing and it's burning away that which we are not. So this is, you know, the mask coming off, seeing ourselves for who we are. You know, we'll start seeing other people for who they, you know, they are, taking off that personality mask, being in vulnerable space, being pushed into a vulnerable space. It's like, you know, what came up was the story of Lot in the Bible, where, you know, she looked back, you know, to her past, you know, look back to her past. And, you know, when you're continuing to look back in the past and hold on to things that don't serve you, it's like you become like really dense, you become stuck. And, you know, she was told not to look back because what is in front of you in the direction that you're being taken is divinely guided. But just, it was this ego kind of thing, and it's just, you know, she couldn't help it and she looked back. And, you know, we know the story of, like, you know, the brimstone, and sulfur is related to those type of stories. So I feel like it's like we need sulfur, we need that energy to burn down our past hang-ups, to burn down like the mask of who we thought who we think we are, so that we can step up and be our true, radiant, and authentic selves. I think, once this process happens, we become illuminated, we become radiant. It's like, it feels like the energy feels like renewal. It feels like after the storm, when the sun starts to come out, and you feel the sun's beams and rays on you, and it's just like, that's kind of like how I'm feeling with this. So after this process, and that's week 1, we're left in this vulnerable space with ourselves now, because I feel like it's like the mask off, and we're like, okay, like, now, what's the next step in the process? And then we have for week 2, rhodochrosite. And rhodochrosite, it's a crystal and a stone of the pink ray, very heart-centered energy, really vibrates very highly in the thymus gland, or the higher heart chakra, or the part of your heart chakra that's connected to the divine part of yourself. And you have a deeper connection in your higher heart with your higher self. So I think a lot of people may become more in alignment with their higher self, and allowing themselves to be guided and directed from that space, and move into your life through that space, not through a ego-based space the way that we were before. We're moving from our heart. So I think that's really beautiful. Or at least there's a recognition that you need to come into alignment with that. That's how I'm feeling. Like, there's a recognition that we got to really take care of ourselves, and we need to love ourselves more. I feel like there can be a tendency to be too hard on ourselves. So I feel like that's where it's like, okay, we've done this work, within the energy frame of sulfur, but we know when we do healing work, and we're bringing things up, we can be really hard on ourselves, instead of just allowing ourselves to feel whatever comes up. Like, we have to feel what comes up, and then we have to judge it and critique it and analyze it. And that's when the mind comes in. When we do that, the ego comes in, and that does more harm than good. We have to be in a space where we allow a feeling to come up, and we just are able to feel the feeling, and we just observe it. And regardless of what that experience, or what that feeling, or what that pain, or what that trauma is, that we meet ourselves in that space without judgment, without fear, but we meet ourselves in that space with love. We have to love those spaces in ourselves, instead of judging ourselves. So we have rhodochrosite coming in with that. There's going to be an intense need, because it feels really, really like strong. Like, there's going to be, especially after this work and this energy comes in, because this is coming in, I think this is coming in the week of the 11/11 gateway. So there's going to be an intense need to, I was going to say practice self-love, but I'll say that, practice self-love and self-care during this time. There is going to be an intense need to really, really nurture the self. So whatever that means for you, start thinking of what things you can do to better take care of yourself. If you're someone who, like me, like sometimes I tend to be an overthinker, So what can I do? Because when I overthink, I can beat myself up as things rise up. So what can I do that I can honor and take care of myself and meet myself in a space of love when these things happen, you know? What can I do? Like, like you can set like an alarm on your phone, 6 times a day or something like that, that goes off. And when it pops up on your phone, it says, you are beautiful. And you tell yourself you are beautiful, or you are love, or like whatever it is that you need to do to reinforce or like reprogram yourself from the old behavioral patterns to where you're not being loving towards yourself. Those are the things that we're going to be dealing with and working with in the second week. How can we change the patterns of the lack of love that we give ourselves? um, it could be, you don't take care of your body, maybe you eat really bad, or you've been overweight and you haven't been taking charge of your physical health. So maybe you really decide to, number one, deal with the layers underneath and, your feelings, and understand why this physical manifestation has happened, because it always is based from something that's feeling based. Um, and you can reinforce that by loving yourself in that space and not being hard on yourself. But then you can also implement a new behavior, excuse me, um, to start to heal. It could be, you start being more mindful about what you eat, or you decide you want to join a dance class. It's just, I think what's important is that whatever your situation is and whatever you implement, make sure it's something that makes you feel great about yourself. Something that makes you feel positive, that's in alignment with you. I was saying in another reading that I was doing for one of my personal clients, is that like we're talking about, we're seeing a need for us to love ourselves and nurture ourselves and be passionate towards ourselves. If we want to attract a partner or a mate, are we being love ourselves? Are we being loving towards ourselves? If we want more passion in our relationships, is there passion in our own, self in our own life? And, I was telling my client, I was like, the one thing that makes me feel like this energy of passion is Spanish music, like dancing to, salsa or like bachata. Like it just makes me feel just like it oozes. And it's like, I feel like everyone needs to find that thing in whatever space they are in their process that makes them feel that way, that they can do and nurture themselves, because it's going to help to shift your vibration. It's going to help to release the old patterns, the old coping mechanisms, or the way that you dealt with things, which is not dealing with them or suppressing or repressing them, and being able to love yourself and nurture yourself and meet yourself in a beautiful space. And at the same time, you're introducing a new pattern that is going to replace the old one, so that you start to vibrate at a different rate, and you start to bring love into the space of the self. Because when you do that, when you become in a space of love within yourself, then it's like that becomes your makeup, that gets embedded in your DNA and your field. And of course, whatever it is that's inside of you, it's like that's going to magnify, and it's going to spill over into the external world. So what happens is that like your external world starts to shift too. You start to, you might attract new friends. Now in this process, because we're talking about change here, you know what I mean? We might see people that no longer are in sync with us, or no longer in alignment, or they don't resonate with us, start to fall away. And it's okay. We have to meet that in a space too, where we realize is that, we moved out of those spaces with people so that everyone can go off and be the best version of themselves and whatever that experience is for them. So we have to allow that. We have to surrender to that process. But we also look at it as that in that surrendered state, we're also allowing, the divine to come in and bring us to the spaces that we need to, that are best suited or best aligned to where we are and where we're going. Um, and interestingly enough, week 3 is kyanite, which kyanite's always been alignment for me too. I like working with kyanite before I do meditative work, just kind of really bring myself into balance. And I feel like, this kyanite is going to be like number one. I think a lot of Kundalini activations are happening. So just as really aligning these energies and bringing like your central channel into balance. And I feel like this is just aligning with yourself, getting right with yourself. I just keep hearing like right alignment. Like if you are not in a space of unconditional love with yourself, then you're not in right alignment. Like you're in an era of you're just an era of self, and there's always going to be conflicts and challenges until we realize that whatever it is that we want to see in the world, like whatever it is that we want to create, we have to become that first. We can't complain and talk about all of the things that are going on in the world with like racism and white privilege and all these other topics, without recognizing where you're in era of things within yourself. When you're in right alignment with self, when you are loved within yourself, when you're accepting, when you're nurturing, when you're not judgmental to yourself, then your external environment will manifest as that which you are. So I think the question here is that, like, who are you? Because I feel like week 1 is like, okay, let's look at who you're not. As I feel, let's really look at who you're not, because we're gonna, all those masks, they gotta go. It's time to shift here. And I feel like the middle of the month is just some really like introspection kind of like really looking at yourself for who you are. I feel like it's like the space feels very vulnerable and bare, which I think is good. I feel like there are some people where if you've been really, really struggling with this work, now's a really awesome time to, talk to a friend or spiritual advisor that you trust, or if you have to go and seek, help in other methods, like do so. The best way that you can honor yourself and love yourself is to place yourself in the path and in a direction so you can heal and you can get better. That is self-care and that is self-love. To take care of your mental health and take care of your emotional health is very, very important. But I just feel like this is kind of like a balancing out here. That what's happening, these energies are trying to balance things out so you can be in this central space, you can be in alignment. And like I brought my hands right here because that's the energy I felt like. Bring yourself in alignment with your heart and love within yourself. He said, I am love. So maybe that's the mantra that we need to, cultivate and bring in for November is I am love. So week 4, we had 2 cards come out. We have Tanzanite and we have Ruby. Ruby's very protective, and it's interesting because I've been working with the Canis Major constellation, which is in the Orion sector, and Orion is the warrior. When I've seen all these sparkles and lights coming in, I feel like there's a lot of um, divine knowledge, divine information coming in. I feel like the information that's coming in is shifting people's views and their beliefs, like um, what they use as a guideline or a focal point up until this point no longer serves them. It's not in alignment with where they are. And I like to always use this very basic example is that, like, when when we have to level up, we meet challenges because we have to change. I feel like this is like the crucible. When we're here, this is like the crucible, and you have to go through that fire. For me, this is the sulfur, so you can cast away all the things that you're not. And now it's like you're in this vulnerable space here because you don't have that mask on. So now it's like you really have to take care of yourself because anything can come in and manipulate and affect you. So I feel like when you're in this space, you need to protect yourself. But as you start to heal and you start to love yourself, you vibrate at a different space, and I feel like it's like you're leveling up on the mountain. You level up, and there might be new practices, new spiritual teachings or beliefs or information that comes in that's relevant for you at this next tier that you're at, this next initiation level that you're at, and you have to go through that, and it's going to shape and mold you into, being even more of who you're meant to be. And that's going to have its space and its use and its purpose in your life, and how you're also supposed to impact others in the world. And it's the same thing. You have to, like, I feel like Ruby's like, you have to fight for that. You have to fight for that with yourself. You have to fight for that justice and that truth for yourself and others. You have to act, you have to move within the space and the frame of just what they're saying is, if we're in a spiritual war, like we're fighting for like the release of our souls, who we truly are. And we have to protect that. Like, protection keeps coming up. We have to protect ourselves within that space. We can't allow ourselves to be manipulated. Like, I feel like, because when we're peeling off these layers, we can become vulnerable because there's healing that has to happen. So number one, we have to protect ourselves when we're in that space. It's like when you go and get surgery and you get cut open and there's a wound, if they don't stitch it up and then you just go out, like, it can get reinfected, right? It can get infected. And it's like the same thing, like when you like transmute energy, you take off these masks or all these things, they're normally wounds or patterns or perceptions or experiences that no longer serve us. There's things that are dense that have made us sick. So when we take those things off, it's like doing surgery. But there's an open wound, we're vulnerable, and now we have to begin the healing process. So as we're doing that healing process, we have to make sure we protect ourselves so nothing else infects us. And that's also kind of how I'm feeling too. So I feel like working with Ruby to really protect ourselves, because we're kind of being like, I'm seeing us like as an embryo, like we're in this bubble, and yeah, we're vulnerable, but like we're being shaped and we're being molded and we're being nurtured to step into our spiritual selves. So we have to protect ourselves, and by stepping up and doing what we need to do to protect ourselves, we're also taking responsibility for our divinity. And then with Tanzanite, I feel like it's just, again, I keep seeing like the Orion constellation, and I keep getting this thing with like Sirius and the Orion, the Beltway, the Three Kings. There's some downloads or codes or they're saying these codes are going to unlock doors. So like I think everyone will be able to or have access to keys and codes to get them through the next phase, the next gateway. And the guys, the angelic realm is working with everyone to pull them into that space. So like when you reemerge, because again, if this feels very like sulfur, feels like it's gonna feel like death, you know, like you know, releasing who you thought you were. That, and that's very resonant with Scorpio. It's going to feel like a death. Like you have to let that go because that's not who you are. That part of yourself has to die. Then in the middle of the month, it's like you have to nurture yourself, take care of yourself, because what you're doing is you're shifting into alignment with who you truly are. So now you're this kind of like embryo. You're like waiting to be like, I feel like rebirth, but we're not quite at that process yet. So now you have to protect this because there's this baby that's growing, right? You know, and you're protecting this new spiritual experience with the self that's going to be emerging. And as it's nurturing, like just like, you know, a baby grows, as it's being nurtured, it's getting all the food and the DNA is forming a certain way and all the codes that gives this embryo a map or a blueprint of its, you know, identity and makeup and who this person is. When we think about like even kids being born into the world, like they're like the fool in tarot. Like they have all these dreams and they know what they want to do and they're very connected to divine energy. They don't shift from that into impressions and projections are placed upon them, and then their reality becomes this conditioned distortion of things. So like that's how I kind of feel. It's like we're back in this like embryonic stage and we're being nurtured and we're being guided spiritually. We're getting the keys and the codes to our purpose and our path. So I feel like there's a lot of awakening that's going to be happening here. You may start to get insights on like who you really are. If you're like a star seed, you might start to remember or have visions or connections from home. I feel like higher chakra alignment. Like we can have certain higher chakras open, but if there's some chakras that are in between, you know, like the 8 through 12 that are blocked, then it doesn't allow all of that light and all that information to filter completely through us. It becomes kind of like splintered and distorted. I'm feeling like this is like opening the higher chakras too, and allowing a higher range of spiritual information to come in. So I feel like that's leading to a lot of the awakenings and remembrance. Like our brains are changing, our neurological patterns and signals are changing. So I know for sure I've experienced, and I've heard a lot of people saying that, like a lot of people are getting a lot of headaches and migraines. If you are, this is very prevalent of those type of changes where your higher chakras are starting to open. So all the stuff that's been blocking it is clearing out, and a lot of that is around our mental states, the things that like we think, our patterning and programming, or any attachments or things that that need to be released. I mean, overall, this just feels like coming into alignment with who you really are. letting go. I'm really feeling like letting go. And just major transformation energy here. I think it's really important. Again, protection keeps coming up as you're in this vulnerable space. When you're in a vulnerable space, it's very easy to get attacked, or you can be easily influenced by false things that are not meant for you, and you can kind of get reinfected. So really take whatever precautions you need to protect your field, protect your home, protect your space, whether it's sage and Palo Santo, you know, working with Archangel Michael, using Reiki throughout your home, using the white light, like, you know, whatever you need to do, it needs to be a constant maintenance of your home. I know personally, like literally, like every day at this point, I smoke my house out, the entire house. Like I'm on one end of the house, my roommate's on the other end, and she smokes her side of the house out, and I smoke my side, and it goes throughout the house. And we just like, I could tell like it's really changing the energy in the space. And in the home. So you might notice a lot of matrix restructuring. If you haven't moved anything around in your house, or if you haven't done a deep cleaning in a long time, not now might be the time to do that. You know, move some stuff around, move your bed to a different side of the wall. If you've had the same crystals up, or the same artwork, or, you know, whatever it is for you, like go find something new, like shift some things around, because I think that's going to really cultivate a space that you need to be in and move into that next level as too. So do what resonates with you, of course. So I felt guided, even before I, you know, was going to do this reading, to pull a vibrational Reiki card for this month. And just mainly I like working with this deck because it really connects with what we need to cultivate in the space that we're in now. And you can use this in any way you would like. I'm going to show you the image on the card. The image is very activating, so you can just really connect with that image. I like to connect with the image sometimes, or just feel the vibration of it and pull it into my heart space, and just allow myself to really meditate on that and journal on that energy, and try to cultivate that energy in each aspect of my day, so that that energy can be magnified. So we're going to see what's coming up for November 2017 here. And I didn't mention in the beginning of the video, but if you would like a personal reading for what's going on with the resonance within your own self, not on a collective level, but you can get the same type of reading. It'll give you insight even on like the crystals you need to work with. Yeah, the crystals resonate a vibration, of course. We're all crystalline, we have crystalline structures, but it'll be helpful for you, because I mean, you can understand where you are and your shift within yourself, within your crystal self. And it also gives you a platform of what crystals that you can, you know, work with within that month. So you can get your own personal crystal conscious reading. And you can email me at intheroughcrystals at gmail.com for inquiries on the reading. So let's see. Father. So take a second just to connect with the resonance of that. So you can take a deep inhale, breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just connect with the resonance of that image. Ask yourself, you feel when you see this image? Like, what comes up for you? How does it trigger you? Is there some emotional baggage that you need to heal within your own physical relationship with your father? That could be the aspect of healing for some of us. This could also be cultivating and healing our relationship that we have with our Divine Father, our Creator. Maybe we've given up and really believing on the power that He has to show us who we are, to show us that we are co-creators with Him. We've gotten so lost and disconnected in our world that we don't even have a remembrance of what our purpose is here. Because we were created in His image and sent here for a reason and a purpose. So I feel like there's an energy of needing to reconnect with what your unique spiritual resonance of the Divine Father may be for you. And I feel like connecting with this energy, healing within this template, is going to help you build a new foundation for your life, a new platform on which to move forward and on your mission and your purpose. So I feel like this can also be codes coming in. Again, when we're talking about Tanzanite and, Ruby, spiritual warrior, angelic messenger, this could be divine codes coming in. I keep feeling this connection from the Orion constellation during this time of the year, during the winter time. So you may be going through that shift as well. But it could be both. In healing our physical relationships with our Father, we're honoring that space within our physical realm, and we're able to more easily honor that space within the spiritual realms too. There's that alignment with both energies, the physical energy and the mirror, the heavenly aspect of that energy. So if you would like to, I encourage you, if you would like to meditate on this image, I'm going to hold it up here just for a little longer. And just take some time and really connect with it. And you can spend 5 or 10 minutes or whatever resonates with you and just really just do some automatic writing and see what comes up with you and how this relates to where you are in your particular juncture. So hopefully that resonated for you guys. Again, this is a collective reading. It's not a personal reading. So, take from it what resonates with you and leave behind what doesn't. If you want something that's more focused and personalized on your particular situation, again, you can email me at intheroughcrystals@gmail.com for the crystal consciousness reading. If you're looking for a different reading, I do have some different, videos. One of those other styles may resonate with you, so that's totally up to you and what you want to work within. So thank you guys so much for joining, and I hope that you have a very beautiful and blessed November. Thank you so much, guys. Blessings and love.